Hey, what's going on, guys? Brandon here with Texas Plinking, and this video is going to be just slightly different than the usual. Usually I'm out in the range showing some new firearm or just shooting recreationally one way or another, but this one's a little bit more gear oriented, and I'm putting it on this channel because this has a lot of anticipation. In fact, I promised I was going to put this video out in March like a month ago, and so closing in on that window. So I really want to get this video out because we're talking about a night vision device that recently came on the scene, and it is very, very well priced. Too well to where a lot of people are wondering how good it is. I certainly was, and so I placed the order myself. And of course, in this video, we're talking about the Arken Optics ZULUS. It's a 5-20 digital zoom, digital night vision device. And by night vision device, I mean night vision scope. This is rifle mounted, has crosshairs and all that kind of stuff. Now, real quickly, there's a couple things I want to get into. We will be reviewing this. This is what the video is, talking about the ZULUS, showing it in use, all that good stuff. But I can't dive into it before I talk about night vision as a whole and compare it to some other very, very expensive stuff. That way we know what to expect, because when we're talking about night vision for under $500, the way this one is, and we'll talk about how you get to that price as well, that seems too good to be true. And you know what, to an extent it is, but to the other extent, can it do the job that you want it to do? And that is shoot at night. And it's more than just a simple yes or no. Obviously it's yes, otherwise the thing is just a paperweight. But I want to dive in a little bit deeper than that so you guys can know exactly what to expect when you go spend the big bucks or when you get something pretty economic. Now, a real quick disclosure, if you guys are not new to the channel, you guys hear me talk about Arken Optics all the time. And genuinely, from the bottom of my heart, I really like their stuff. As it turns out, they're not a paying sponsor in that they're not paying for me to say nice things. But I am getting kickbacks on an affiliated basis, which I get offered all the time. And I almost always say no, because it's just not a product I want to plug enthusiastically. 3 or 4 years ago, I got familiar with Arken Optics, and that was something I wanted to promote enthusiastically, because at that time, 3 or 4 years ago, I was talking about optics like the EP4 from Arken, and how I thought it was an incredible scope at any price point. It just happened to be pretty economic, and Arken has stayed that way. Whether it's a low power variable optic like the EP8 1-8 or the EP5 5-25 or their LH4, whatever, they're very, very economic, but they punch way above their weight, and genuinely I love them, and I've used them to shoot long range plenty of times, and so can't talk highly enough. That being said, whenever I plug them and I mentioned a discount code, two things. That discount code genuinely does give you the best offer currently available. And when I show that I directed that sale, I do get a kickback from that. So full disclosure. But I say that just so we're clear, I'm not going to go full shill and say, wow, this is revolutionary. Why ever spend between $4,000 and $12,000 ever again? There's definitely a reason to spend that $4,000 to $12,000, but for those that can't justify it, or they just need to get their feet wet and to shoot in the night for predator control, I'm going to talk about the limitations, what to expect with it. In short, it is impressive. It is something I would recommend, but you just have to know what you're getting. If you're expecting analog night vision, you're not going to get it because it's not analog night vision. Now, before we dive into this, like I said, it is a review on the ZULUS. We have to start broad. I want to talk about the difference between digital night vision and analog night vision. And by analog, you could also say intensifier tubes. You may have heard that before as well. That is, in my eyes, real night vision. This digital night vision operates more so like a digital camera optimized for low light. And that's because it is a camera, actually. So a little bit more context on that. I promise I'll make this brief because we're just going to dive into the ZULUS itself. But let's start off with this real quick. This is a PVS-14 with an intensifier tube from L3 Harris. It's one of the more high-end PVS-14s, Gen 3 white phosphor. This ran me just about $4,700 or $4,800. Not cheap. And the thing is, I can only explain it in layman terms because I am still a layman in this whole subject. I am not a scientist. I don't know how to make night vision. If I did, I'd be making night vision and printing money. But what I will say is my understanding of real night vision is it is a very picky process on making those intensifier tubes. It is lab-made crystals that amplify light under certain electro waves, whatever, with the protons and the croutons, who knows. Look, I'm going off the rails. What I'm saying though is it just takes a lot to produce something like this. So many times there are blemishes or whatever, or imperfections in the night vision tube or in the amplifier tube, and they get thrown away. And so the cost of producing something like this and what goes into it is just so much more. Whereas, like I said, digital night vision really is a digital camera, like any other camera, except with the infrared filter removed. It's a digital camera without an infrared filter. And it also has software that optimizes it for low light capability as well. So the short of that is much easier to produce, gives you a totally different look that we'll talk on, much more expensive and worthwhile to produce, and worth it if you have the money. That being said, that's why this is just worth so much more. Now, it's going to be kind of hard to give you guys a perspective, but I'm going to do my best. It's going to be very easy on digital night vision because it actually has onboard recording. And so I can just record that and you guys will see exactly what I see, quality and everything. You guys will see it exactly. This is a little bit different. There's definitely no onboard recording here because this is not a camera. So the best I could do is record it with my phone with a mount, but then it kind of gets put out like a digital camera once again. It will look better than digital night vision, but when I throw it on YouTube, it won't look as good. Whereas this is exactly what I see. This, you're just gonna have to take my word for it. Real night vision just looks a lot better in person. So there's the main differences. Seeing at night, you're gonna do it better with a real night vision, as you would expect for the price and everything like that. However, can you get your feet wet, do what you need to do with a night vision device like this, especially when it's a dedicated scope with the mount, with crosshairs and everything? Maybe you're looking at something like coyote control or any kind of feral hog control, something like that, and you just do not need to spend $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $6,000, $10,000 on high-end night vision or thermal. You can't get it done with this. And the reason being is both real night vision and digital night vision can pick up infrared light. If you have an IR flashlight, that is something that's not going to be picked up by the naked eye day or night, but both digital and analog night vision will pick that up as if it's a flashlight or a floodlight. Analog night vision is going to be dependent on IR light much, much less, whereas a lot of times, unless it's a full moon or there's a lot of city light out or something like that, I would almost never use digital night vision without some help. And that's pretty apparent in the sense that most digital night vision devices, this one included, has an infrared flashlight on it actually. So that works out just fine. Once you combine digital night vision with an infrared light, that's where it really shines and shows how impressive it is. Now, wrapping up the portion of this video where I compare digital night vision to analog night vision, again, a pro I would suppose that you have with digital night vision is if you want to record something, it is a digital camera you're buying. Another benefit you might have with this is all those things you hear about night vision, about its sensitivity and you want to keep it away from bright objects. That's only true for analog night vision. Those intensifier tubes are expensive and you don't want to damage them. So that's why this unit is off right now and I'm not going to turn it on until I am in the dark. This is not so much the case. In fact, it even has a day mode. Of course, night vision is good for night only. This right here, you could put it in a day mode and it's like looking through, once again, a digital camera, except you have crosshairs. I hope that cleared it up a little bit on why you would see something like this, the price it is. So that's why analog night vision can go from $3,500 to $40,000. There's a lot to it. So that's it for the comparison. Let's go ahead and put the PVS-14 off to the side. If you made it this far, I hope I gave you guys a little insight on why the price point of this is what it is. That being said, it's still actually really impressive, and I would still say it kind of punches quite a bit above its weight once you know what to expect. We're talking about digital night vision here. Let's start with the price point. I know I threw a bunch of price points at you, and there's a reason for that. First off, there's two different units. I have the more simple one. This is just the ZULUS with the integrated infrared light. This is the standard one. For a little bit more money, you could get the one with a laser rangefinder, and with that also comes a ballistic calculator. But I'm gonna look at my notes real quickly. MSRP on this one is $649.99. And the one with the laser rangefinder and ballistic calculator is $933.29. That same discount code I mentioned earlier that works on all the other day optics also works here. That code's just texasplinking, and it takes off, I believe, quite a bit to where this one right here becomes $487.50, and the one with the laser rangefinder ballistic calculator becomes $699.99. Let's call it $700. That being said, for $212 more than this, you could get the laser rangefinder and ballistic calculator. Not too bad. At the time I bought this, that wasn't even available, so up to you to decide if it's needed, but we got the simple one here. So as it goes, the unit I'm holding here is under $500, $487.50. So it's the 5-20 because it has 5-20 zoom. Of course, that's digital zoom. When you have a real scope and you go through the 5-20, that's all optical zoom. This is pretty much cropping into the image it already has. So obviously as you zoom in, resolution drops a little bit, but from my experience, you could actually use a decent amount during the day anyway. But yeah, 5-20 equivalent zoom, digital zoom. It comes with the scope mount already. So 4 screws right here, and then the mount that mounts up to Picatinny. It also comes with a micro SD card that gets put in right here, again, because there's onboard recording. It comes with 2 batteries that you put in right here by the illuminator and a charger that charges both batteries at the same time. It also comes with this rubber eyepiece. You could choose to use it or not. I'm gonna go ahead and use it just to block off a little bit of light bleeding in. A couple other things. It uses the Sony Starvis 2 chipset. It's got a 1920 by 1080 micro OLED HD HD display. The thing is waterproof and operates in temperatures as low as -4 degrees Fahrenheit and up to 122 degrees Fahrenheit. It's got 8 hours of battery life, of course, depending on weather and the brightness settings you're choosing, whether you're running the illuminator or not, but they rate it for 8 hours of battery life. It's also Wi-Fi enabled and comes with a 2-year warranty. Now let's go ahead and just talk about some of the functions of the scope before we dive into the menu. Left side, nothing to do other than the screw down cap here behind the illuminator. That's where the battery goes. And then looking at the right side, pick rail here. Behind that, this thing unscrews. That's where you put your micro SD card. And then USB-C, I believe it was, and that is for charging if you don't want to remove the battery, or external power source as well. Looking at the top, behind the power button, that is where you zoom. It's a tiny little zoom wheel with some clicks. And that's very, very nice. That's how you zoom between the 5 to 20 zoom range. Above that, we have our power button. Hold it down to turn it on. Hold it down for about 3 seconds to turn it off. Now we're just left with these 4 buttons. The bottom one with the gear is going to be how we access our menu and settings. The top button with the camera with the plus button is how we start recording and stop recording. On the left is how we control our infrared light and go through the different brightness settings, unless we hold it down, and then we can switch between daytime and nighttime. And on the right is our brightness control. Now, once you click the gear and go to the menu, and then these buttons on the left and right also have a left and right arrow, and that's how you scrub through the menu. If you want to pick something on the menu, that's where you press the top button, and then that selects that. And so it's so easy. And in that menu system is where you could also access the zeroing feature, so you could zero the optic, and I'll tell you how much you're zeroing. Very, very cool. As we're looking through it right now, if you press just the setting button just once and don't hold it down, you could change between red, yellow, black, white, green, and back to red for your reticle as well. This pretty much works as a first focal plane because as you zoom in, the reticle gets larger as well. So not a true first focal plane because we're not talking about an optical day scope, but it serves functions like that as far as the reticle expanding and the relativity stays the same, so that's kind of neat. Since I was using it just there, I forgot to mention that it does come with this front lens cover here as well, labeled Arkin. What's cool about that is you could go ahead and click it all the way to make it flush, so it's well out of your way. Continuing with the functions, might be a little out of order, but I just remembered. This back piece here rotates to adjust for your particular eye. It's like an ocular focus. And then the front part here is also knurled because it too rotates, and that is to focus on objects from different distances. So all that being said, I think I ran through all the tabletop portion, and I understand you guys probably just want to see how it performs. I'm sure you guys already seen a little bit by this point because I am enrolling some B-roll that I shot at another time. But let's go ahead and do a little bit more. We got maybe another couple hours of light here, so we'll kill the time by showing you guys this ZULUS on the day mode. So to do that, we'll flip this cover off here, and once it starts recording internally, I'll go back and forth between the footage so you guys can see. Go ahead and power this sucker on real quick. And again, this is recording certain things, but it's not screen recording, so it's not going to show you all the things that I'll try to do as far as recording with my phone, and that is showing me the level. If it's pretty level, it'll have 2 arrows off to the left that go green. If it's off to the left, it'll tell me by how much, -2.8, to the right now, -30.1, whatever that is, degrees of cant, I don't know. But in any case, it's trying to get me level, and if I point up, point down, it tells me as well how much I'm tilted up or down, left or right. So it's got all these levels that's not going to show in the internal recording, but I'll try to, like I said, film through my phone here. What it should record is some decent range here. In fact, I don't know if you're going to be able to tell in this video, but we got a water tower starting to get built up, maybe about, I'll try to go on this side, maybe about 1,100 yards away when I laser range find it before. So I'll show you what that looks like here. First off, I'm going to try not be so shaky, and I'm going to need to focus it. That's about as best I got right there. And we're on 5 times zoom. I'm going to start zooming in. So now we're at 7.5. I'm going to mostly focus on this crane here. 10 power, 12.5, 15, 17.5, and here is 20. At this point, I'm just battling holding still. So you can see as I zoomed in, it's kind of like a first focal plane in that the reticle expanded, which is really cool. And don't get me wrong, you're going to be a lot more stable on a rifle, not hand holding. So let's go ahead and back off the zoom. But that's pretty much all the loss of resolution we're going to get is maximum zoom. Let's start backing it down. We're now back to 5 power. And there it is. Most hog hunting or predator control is done well within 100 yards as it turns out. That being said, we're going to go ahead and reference this right here. Those trees there, I'll refocus it real quickly. Those are about 110 yards away. So that's mostly what I'm interested in. If we can see that clearly at night, then I'll be pretty happy. Something tells me without infrared light, it's going to be pretty hard to make out. Once we go full blast with the illuminator, it's going to be much, much better. We're going to go ahead and start off with the PVS-14. Again, this isn't a full-on comparison video, but I just want to give a little basis of, you know, what you could expect out of a $4,700 night vision device. And that's all this is just to be able to see better at night. But this is not an on-gun solution. There's no reticles in here. There's no digital camera, nothing like that. What I'm going to do is my very best. I just tested it off camera, and I think this is going to work. I'm just going to go ahead and put my phone up to it. Now, focusing the night vision device is one thing, not too difficult. Focusing the iPhone to make sure it's looking at the right thing, it's going to be a different story. So I'm just going to go ahead and start recording. So now you guys are going to see what my iPhone sees. So let's go ahead and put some night vision to that. All right, and again, we're dealing with a different field of view. This is not something that's mounted on a rifle or nothing like that. So we're not comparing apples to apples here. But there's my dog. I could focus it a little bit better if I did that through the night vision device. In fact, I'll go ahead and do that right now. All right, so I had to take my hands off of it real quick, but there you go. Now you can see his eyes glimmering real nicely. Tucker, can you spin around? Spin around. Tucker, spin around. All right, third time's a charm. Good boy, bud. All right, now the trees are out of focus, so I'm gonna have to adjust that back to it. And there we are. As far as some distance, there's a water tower way out there. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of a basis as well. Also comparing, here we have a little seating thing here. It's not quite focused for that distance, but you know, good enough. And what's it look like without it? Just about like that. All right, so pretty pitch black. All right, so out here with the Arkin ZULUS, let's go ahead and flip the cap open. I don't know what setting it's on right now, so we'll just go ahead and power it on. All right, and so we're in night vision mode. I'm gonna go ahead and start recording, and don't be alarmed by what you see first. I'm gonna tell you how to get the most performance out of it. But let's go ahead and go back to that cushion out here. Again, it's gonna be quite a bit more zoomed in. I'm gonna go ahead and focus it. Good thing to know is you can make it out pretty good. Again, if this was a wider field of view, it would be a little bit more fair of a comparison. But here we go. You can actually make that out. And the good news is, this is with 0 infrared help right now. Here's me holding the ZULUS, and here's the cushion out there. And that is what it sees once I get my bearings. Much, much better. Now, if we want to throw some IR light on it, it's going to get overexposed initially, and then it'll chill out. Now we see quite a bit more detail. And like I said, there's something about 110 yards away. Now let's go ahead and give it a look over there. First off, probably going to have to refocus, but it's hard to because I really can't make it out too well. So this is where it's going to be kind of needed. Let's go ahead and flash some infrared light on it. This is the, okay, so now we have something to focus on. Let's focus on those trees. That's not too bad. That's the lowest level of brightness, and we're making out trees out to 110, 115 yards or so pretty nicely. Let's go ahead and add some more illumination. Let's actually max it out. That's all the illumination we got. That is pretty bright, and it is picking up 110 yards, no problem. We're zoomed into 15 power, 17.5. That's full zoom with my shaky hands. If this was actually on a rifle, be a lot better. We're backing it back to 5 power. There we go. So that is 5 power with max illumination. Water tower, we're actually able to pick up because of enough contrast. I don't think the infrared light's making it to 1100 yards, but that's fine. So in that case, let's go ahead and just kill the infrared light. Maybe it did kind of make it out there. Let's try again. It's not too bad. It's actually lighting it up from 1100 yards. All right, well, shoot, let's try to zoom in. And obviously that is where it's going to be very, very digital, but who's shooting 1100 yards at night? Maybe you are, and you could probably do it through a digital image like that, but you know, less than ideal, but possible. And then as far as trying to focus to something close like my dog here, it can in fact focus that close. Let's see, Tucker. Yep. So that's actually a pretty clear image. All right, so I stopped recording, and so there you go. Now, just like I said with the analog night vision saying, I'm trying to give you perspective and do it justice. Not true here. What you guys saw through that recording is exactly what I see through here because it is a digital camera, and I'm just gonna put that out to as I see it. Let's go ahead and power this guy off. And so hopefully that shows you. When you put on analog night vision, or rather than put on, if you just look through analog night vision, something becomes a whole different world. You just see so well, and it just looks like that's now your vision. Whereas looking through this very much so seems like you're looking through a device. And that device being a digital camera that's quite good in low light, and in addition, picks up infrared light. So that being said, that's why this is in fact usable in night. So you can call it night vision. It's just not analog night vision, and that's where the price comes in. I will say, Last thing I'll kind of leave you guys with here, what I should have touched on inside for the tabletop portion. I am impressed by not only the menu system, like I said earlier, but overall, here's what I didn't expect to be quite 10 out of 10. The overall build quality is actually really nice. I have a thermal that costs about $3,500. I also have another thermal that's about $6,500. And the overall housing feels just as good as some of those premier thermals. The buttons themselves feel very, very nice. They seem weather sealed as well, but they're very, very nice. Just the zoom and that little click that you get through the zoom range, everything. It doesn't feel like a plastic hunk of crap. This actually has decent weight to it. It's not heavier than it needs to be. The mounting structure, everything. It just feels really nice. The way everything rotates nice and stiff as far as the ocular focus and focusing for distance. I'm actually really impressed by the overall build quality. Of course, more important than that is the image quality. And I have to say, digital night vision is something I wanted to stay away from for a while because I'm just a spoiled brat and I want to go analog. But for something like this, that's a whole package where you can use it in the day. It's night vision with reticles. The reticles can change color, all this stuff. It's actually a very, very cool proposition to the point to where I can, in fact, say I recommend it, so long as you know what you're expecting. And now that you know the differences between digital and analog, hopefully you know what to expect. That being said, I do, in fact, recommend it. If you guys want one, use coupon code texasplinking. Kit's quite a bit knocked off that price, which makes it even more fair. But in summary, this is something that you can use for hunting at night and do it actually quite confident, more confident than I would have initially thought for the price. So that being said, that's the review on the ZULUS. I know a lot of people were anticipating it, so I put it together a little bit different, a little bit more unorthodox compared to my other videos, but hopefully it was helpful. Thanks so much for watching. See you guys next time.